All right, for page 5, we're on problem number 8. This is from the 2002 AP exam. It was number 3, calculator allowed. An object moves along the x-axis with initial position x of 0 equals 2. So I'm just going to underline that. I like to highlight things for myself. The velocity of the object at time greater than or equal to 0 is given by this function. What is the acceleration of the object at time 4? Now, when the calculator is allowed, do not do more work than you need to do, because if you make a mistake doing algebra or algebra for calculus or whatever, if you make a mistake doing things you didn't have to do, then that's unfortunate and you don't want to lose those easy points. So acceleration at 4 is just equal to v prime of 4. And if I'm allowed to use a calculator, I do not have to find the equation for v prime, even though I could. I don't have to find the equation for v prime. I can just go over here and type it into my calculator. So derivative. So math 8, derivative with respect to x of sine of pi over 3 times x. And we are evaluating at 4, right? Make sure you're in radian mode. I'm double checking that I typed this in correctly. Yes. Okay. So it's equal to negative 0.524. Do we have labels on this? No. So nothing to label there. All right, that's it. That's all you have to show for part A. For part B, this should sound familiar because we had maybe the same problem in our notes. So consider the following two statements. Statement 1, for times between 3 and 4.5, the velocity of the object is decreasing. We did this in the previous page. If I want to know if something is increasing or decreasing, I look at whether its derivative is positive or negative. So is the velocity decreasing? I don't know, but I know that a of 4 was less than 0. I just found that in the previous part. A of 4 is equal to v prime of 4. I probably didn't have to say that, but I will. So v of t is decreasing on 3 to 4.5. 4 is in that interval, right? We know velocity. This is a continuous function. Sine is a continuous function, so that's got to be true. All right. Oh, sorry. Are either or both of these statements correct? For each statement, provide a reason why. Okay, so velocity is decreasing on 3 to 4.5. So I need to finish with something like correct. Make sure that you answer the question. Statement 2, 4 times between 0 and 3.5, the speed is increasing. So remember, speed is increasing if acceleration and velocity match signs. If your velocity is negative, your acceleration should be pushing in the negative direction, or vice versa, positive, positive. So we know that a of 4 is less than 0. We don't know v of 4 yet, so let's see. V of 4 would be equal to the sine of 4 pi over 3. Now, you can type this in your calculator if you want. If you want to be sure, you can say, okay, sine of 4 pi over 3. But I'm also thinking back to my unit circle. 4 pi over 3 is in quadrant 3. Sine is negative. So, yeah, it's negative. So I'm going to say v of 4 is less than 0. So because these match, a of 4 is less than 0 and v of 4 is less than 0. So speed is increasing on 3 to 4.5. So again, correct. I want to make sure I answer the question. All right, part C. What is the total distance traveled by the object over time from 0 to 4? So if I want to know the distance, I need to take the integral of the velocity. And remember, you have a calculator, so do not bother with doing all of the figuring out whether this is positive or negative or whatever. Just do the integral from 0 to 4 of the absolute value of the sine of pi over 3t dt. That is about equal to, I don't know, let's see. So math 9 to integrate, 0 to 4. Absolute value, you can go math, number, absolute value. type in sine of pi x over 3 with respect to x. I'm getting 2.387. And do we have measurements for this again? I don't think so, right? No, they didn't give us any labels. So that's my total distance traveled. Okay, and then finally, what is the position of the object at time 4? So remember, we were given an initial position, x of 0. So if I want to figure out time 4, I'm going to start at x of 0. I'm going to add the change in position from 0 to 4 of v of t dt, or the integral of that, excuse me, and that should land me at x of 4. X of 0 is equal to 2 plus the integral from 0 to 4 of no absolute value, just sine of pi over 3t dt equals x of 4. And then again, go to your calculator. You do not have to, even though we can find the integral of that, we don't have to, and you don't want to waste time doing that on the AP exam. So I had a professor who used to say a lazy mathematician is a good mathematician. And what he meant by that was not that you should be lazy all the time, but you need to know when you have to crank out the calculus stuff and when you can just pop it into your calculator and carry on from there. All right. So x of 4 is 3.432. 3.432. Let me make sure I wrote that down correctly. Yes, is approximately equal to x of 4. All right, so that's it for this problem. Again, I don't think I have the scoring guidelines for this one. Let me double check. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, so let's check and see here. So see how you could get v prime of, like, see how they did find the derivative, but you only get a point for the answer. So whether you found the derivative and got the exact value or the rounded, they don't care. They're going to take either one. So do not waste the time, or don't risk a small mistake with chain rule or something on that. 1 was correct and 2 was correct. 1 needs to have correct with a reason. 2, you get a point for correct, and then you get a point for the reason. So don't, like I said, make sure you write the word correct or yes or something like that. So statement 1 is correct because a prime of t is less than 0, and statement 2 is correct because v is less than 0 and a is less than 0. Okay, that matches us. So 3 points here. Let's take a look at this one. The distance was 2.387. Look at this. This is all we had to do. And what do we get points for? We get points for limits of 0 and 4, so just literally setting that up correctly, and for having v of t with an absolute value, and that you're using x of 0 and x of 4 to compute a distance. So what does that mean? That just means, like, okay, you get 1 point for either doing it the easy way with the calculator or doing it the long way. Look at this. If I do this, they're still using the calculator. But if I try to figure out what is the equation for x of t by actually integrating, I have all this stuff. And then I'd have to find the distance between the two. That is just a crazy amount of work. You don't want to have to do that. So you can ignore all of that and be like, okay, yep, I got 1 point for the 0 to 4 and having v of t in absolute value. I get 1 point for, again, you don't have to do the handle's change of direction at the turning point. No, you can just say, I put an absolute value around it. So that's that. And then 1 point for the answer, 2.387. For number 2, or for part D, I mean, you get a point for the integral and a point for the answer, right? Or you could get 2 points for, again, doing it the long way. Find x of t and then figure out your constant of integration and go from there. So use the calculator wisely. They're not going to penalize you for not using the calculator, but you definitely run the risk of making a mistake if you try finding antiderivatives when the calculator can do it for you. All right, that finishes this video.